everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about The Oracle Year by Charles Sewell. Have to say it was not one of my favorite books that I've read this year thus far. Unfortunately, it did end up on my did not finish pile. I know, I hate that pile. I really do. I hate giving bad reviews because I get it, you know. As an aspiring writer myself, I definitely get it. When you write something, you're putting like your heart, basically every book is someone's like baby, you know. I speak that as a mother of two. My books are my babies, as much as my children are, because they're a part of us, so I get it. And I hate leaving bad reviews, but I didn't like it. And I'm not going to be sorry for not liking it, because I do think literature is art. I think it's subjective. Some people are going to like things, some people are not. And this is, you know what, let's just get into it. So this was my book of the month selection from like 3 years ago. Yeah, April 2018. Wow. And I picked it as my book of the month because I was really drawn to the premise. You know, it's science fiction. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I do read science fiction. I love science fiction, actually. I'm just very picky when it comes to my science fiction. I guess I lean more towards science fiction fantasy than I do, you know, like the Shannara Chronicles, Dragonlance. You know, Dune would be explicitly categorized as science fiction. So these are I'm very picky, you know. And I thought, you know, this is a book that's slightly out of my comfort zone, slightly in there. I think I'll like it. It follows a man, Will. He woke up one day and all of a sudden he had like all these premonitions spanning 3 years. So what he decides to do with his best friend is he comes up with his website with this online persona as the Oracle. He gives out some premonitions just to kind of lure people in and be like, yeah, he's not a scam artist. He is the truth, right? This is the truth. He had these premonitions. And I'll say this about Will. He's honestly the only thing I liked about this book from what I read. Again, I stopped reading this book at page 106. I couldn't continue on with it, unfortunately. I'll get into that. But I did like Will as a character because I thought he was down to earth, very humble. You know, he has guilt about exploiting these corporations for money. Even though he shouldn't. But he has guilt, which is why he gives out some of his premonitions for free on his website. And, you know, the ones he can milk from corporations who want to buy 10 minutes of asking questions, whether or not he'll randomly know it, because his premonitions are incredibly random, super random. One is about a woman and chocolate, and another one is about orange farming. So really, they're really random premonitions, and he has them only, you know, the one time. He can't just call it on Will. So he's pretty humble. He's very charismatic. He's very down to earth. I did like him as a character. If the story had just centered around him, I think I would have liked it. However, the story did not just revolve around him. The story splits between a bunch of other perspectives. You've got an FBI agent, you've got a reporter, you guys' best friend, and then you've got this TV this TV priest. Okay. Can't say the word, but you know what I mean. These are the other perspectives that fill up the novel. Now, the priest arc, I found it interesting. And the reporter arc, I found interesting. But here's the problem and why I couldn't get into them. What Sewell did in the first chapter was make you gravitate towards your main protagonist. You gravitate to him because he feels very real. He feels really, really relatable. Sewell does not do that with the other characters. I could care less about them, to be perfectly honest. They didn't really like them. I didn't hate them, but I didn't love them. I was just kind of reading like, why am I reading your arc? What purpose do you have to the story? And I'm sure if I had stuck with it, it would have made sense. But the thing is, it should be somewhat cohesive early on, I think. And if it's not going to be, then I think the characters at least should be likable or dislikable. Because if you hate a character enough, you want to see their downfall and like, oh, I don't like you. And I think the only character that did that for me was the FBI agent. Oh my god, he was so annoying. I couldn't stand him. Could not stand him at all. And I couldn't understand the FBI's reasoning. Like, we need to find out who the Oracle is because he's threatening the re-election of our president. Again, his premonitions are super random. And that just didn't seem to make sense to me as a reader. Like, really? That's why you need to find the Oracle. Not because you're afraid he might have intelligence, secret government documents and whatnot and so forth. Because he's threatening in some way the re-election of the president. The president's that threatened by this random dude online and his completely random premonitions. Right? Okay. I didn't get that. I thought it was stupid. I thought that as an arc, as a story arc, was just stupid. Could not. It was annoying, honestly. Then they hire this off the books retired lady who I was confused by her age. I'm like, wait, so how long has she been doing this? How old is she now? She's got grandkids. At first I imagined her, the way they spoke of her, to be, not young, but maybe in like her 40s. But then they're like, she's been in the game this long. It's like, okay, so she's in her 60s, in her 70s? Like, I was confused. Sorry, my cats are going crazy running around. I was confused by her age. And then when you're going into the reporter story arc, again, didn't care. Her arc makes more sense though. She thinks doing stories on the Oracle is going to get her out of doing fluff pieces for the online website that she writes for. So that made sense. That I was okay with. But again, I just couldn't connect to her character. There is a lot lacking there. I felt like she was kind of supposed to be reminiscent of Megan Fox's April from the TMNT movies. She's a serious supporter. She wants to be taken seriously, but no one's taking her seriously, so they keep giving her all these fluff pieces, right? That's what I kind of connected it to. Like, okay, this is what you're trying to do, because his author, I've read his comics. He's a good writer. He's a comic book writer, mainly. And then now he's doing this novel. Sometimes some writers, should only stick to what they're good at. I hate to say that. I really do. Some writers are really good at writing all sorts of genres, right? And then you have some authors who are just kind of good at what made their name. You know, I think Charles Soule is a really great comic book writer. Did I really like his characterization and pacing in this novel? No. Pacing was super slow. Couldn't care less about these characters. They seemed super one-dimensional, had no depth to them whatsoever, except for Will. He's, again, the only character there. He's supposed to be your main protagonist, and yet the story's going here, pulling away from the only character that I really gravitated towards. So, another example is J.K. Rowling. She's really good at children's fiction. Her adult fiction, however, such a snooze. I couldn't get through that first book she wrote. Nope. But when it comes to writing children's books, you know, she's good at it. Adult fiction, not so much. And there are other authors. These are just the two that come to mind. Marissa Mayer is really good at doing all sorts of genres. She's done superhero. She's done, you know, fantasy. So it's sci-fi fantasy, fairy tale adaptations. And now she did a contemporary one, which I didn't really read because it's a contemporary romance. So I'm like, but I've heard a lot of good things. Instant Karma, I believe it's called. Some authors are really good at just writing across genres. Some aren't. Sorry. That's my opinion. But that's my opinion. Again, my opinion. You may disagree with me, and that's totally okay. Like I said in the beginning of this review, I think of literature as art. It is completely subjective to everyone's interpretation. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. I was not a fan. So unfortunately, I do have to give The Oracle Year 1 star. And I thought about reselling this book. I'm like, no. I'm just going to donate it to the library. That's it. It's going to go to the library. I'm sorry. It's taking up space here. Don't want it. Don't need it. Have no desire to keep it. However, I will say this for the reviews. I'm one of those people who, when I'm done reading a book, if I didn't like something, I tend to go on Goodreads and I scroll through the reviews to be like, okay, is this something I should give another chance to, or did other people feel the same way? Some people did feel the same way. However, there was this really good review I read. The dude liked it, and it was a dude. He said, is there such a thing as dick lit? Because we have chick lit, or is this dick lit? So what he's saying is this is probably a novel more for a male audience. And when I was scrolling through the reviews, I think he's onto something, because a lot of the people who didn't like it or didn't gravitate it were, I guess you could say, female. So maybe it is a dude book. Who knows? Maybe that dude is onto something. He might be. But that's something he should coin dicklit. That was genius. That was genius. I did like that. So, you know, maybe that's what that is. Maybe that's what this is. It is a novel that it's probably going to gravitate more toward, there were some women who liked it, gravitates more towards the male audience versus the female audience, or those who identify as female. So, in any case, once again, this is The Oracle Year by Charles Soule. I can only give it 1 out of 5 stars, but again, my opinion is my own. You may have different opinion. I do recommend checking out the book from your local library. If you really want to give it a shot and purchase the book, please purchase it. Support the author, you know, in any way that you can. And on that note, hope you all continue to support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Please don't forget to share with all your book loving friends, and you can also become a supporter on Buy Me a Coffee or purchasing one of my handmade candles. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.